Keshab Chandra Sen. Keshab Chandra Sen and Sri Ramakrishna met for the first time in the garden house of Jayagopal Sen at Belgaria, a few miles from Dakshineswar, where the great Brahmo leader was staying with some of his disciples. In many respects the two were poles apart, though an irresistible inner attraction was to make them intimate friends. The master had realized God as pure spirit and consciousness, but he believed in the various forms of God as well. Keshab, on the other hand, regarded image worship as idolatry and gave allegorical explanations of the Hindu deities. Keshab was an orator and a writer of books and magazine articles. Sri Ramakrishna had a horror of lecturing and hardly knew how to write his own name. Keshab's fame spread far and wide, even reaching the distant shores of England. The master still led a secluded life in the village of Dakshineswar. Keshab emphasized social reforms for India's regeneration. To Sri Ramakrishna, God realization was the only goal of life. Keshab considered himself a disciple of Christ and accepted in a diluted form the Christian sacraments and Trinity. Sri Ramakrishna was the simple child of Kali, the Divine Mother, though he too, in a different way, acknowledged Christ's divinity. Keshab was a householder and took a real interest in the welfare of his children, whereas Sri Ramakrishna was a Paramahamsa and completely indifferent to the life of the world. Yet, as their acquaintance ripened into friendship, Sri Ramakrishna and Keshab held each other in great love and respect. Years later, at the news of Keshab's death, the master felt as if half his body had become paralyzed. Keshab's concepts of the harmony of religions and the motherhood of God were deepened and enriched by his contact with Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, dressed in a red-bordered dhoti, one end of which was carelessly thrown over his left shoulder, came to Jayagopal's garden house accompanied by Ride. No one took notice of the unostentatious visitor. Finally the master said to Keshab, "People tell me you have seen God, so I have come to hear from you about God." A magnificent conversation followed. The master sang a thrilling song about Kali and forthwith went into samadhi. When Ride uttered the sacred Om in his ears, he gradually came back to consciousness of the world, his face still radiating a divine brilliance. Keshab and his followers were amazed. The contrast between Sri Ramakrishna and the Brahmo devotees was very interesting. There sat this small man, thin and extremely delicate. His eyes were illumined with an inner light. Good humor gleamed in his eyes and lurked in the corners of his mouth. His speech was Bengali of a homely kind with a slight, delightful stammer, and his words held men enthralled by their wealth of spiritual experience, their inexhaustible store of simile and metaphor, their power of observation, their bright and subtle humor, their wonderful Catholicity, their ceaseless flow of wisdom. And around him now were the sophisticated men of Bengal, the best products of Western education, with Keshab, the idol of young Bengal, as their leader. Keshab's sincerity was enough for Sri Ramakrishna. Henceforth the two saw each other frequently, either at Dakshineswar or at the temple of the Brahmo Samaj. Whenever the master was in the temple at the time of divine service, Keshab would request him to speak to the congregation, and Keshab would visit the saint, in his turn, with offerings of flowers and fruits.